city that never met the sky. Towering steel structures reached toward the heavens, their shadows sprawling across streets bathed in cold neon light. Silence reigned supreme in Aether, a silence that devoured every sound, every whisper of life. In this city, no faces smiled, no tears fell. The people lived their lives behind NeuroMasks, devices fused to their faces at birth. Each face was hidden, each emotion locked away. Kai awoke at precisely 6 a.m. to the familiar, mechanical vibration of his mask. The commands came swiftly, silently. Wake up. Make your bed. Consume your nutrient solution. These instructions were so deeply embedded in Kai's routine that he obeyed them reflexively. Yet this morning felt different. A vague unease stirred within him, like the echo of a forgotten thought or a shadow of an unspoken feeling, something Kai couldn't quite grasp. After completing his morning routine, Kai stepped out into the streets of Aether. The city was silent as ever, its towering structures casting a monochromatic gloom over the gray-clad figures moving below. The streets were devoid of life's natural rhythm. No laughter, no arguments, no greetings. Each person moved in synchrony, their faces concealed by NeuroMasks that suppressed both expression and emotion. Aether's tranquility was a cage, its silence a prison. Kai arrived at the factory where he worked, a massive industrial complex filled with towering machines that hummed with relentless precision. His task was to maintain the energy cores that powered the masks. Every day the routine was the same: repair, inspect, replace. But today something unusual happened. As Kai was working on an energy terminal, a spark erupted. His mask trembled slightly, sending an unexpected sensation through him. And then it happened, a vision. A fleeting image filled his mind. A woman smiling at him, her face uncovered. The image was blurry, the edges indistinct, but the smile was radiant and warm. Alongside it came a single word that echoed through Kai's consciousness: mother. Kai froze. The image vanished as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind an overwhelming sense of disorientation. Was it real? A malfunction in his mask? The vision lingered at the edges of his thoughts, elusive yet haunting. As his mask recalibrated itself, Kai's routine resumed, but he couldn't shake the image from his mind. A question began to form, a question he could not silence. What is my mask hiding from me? That night, Kai lay in bed, unable to sleep. The low-frequency vibrations emitted by his mask, designed to soothe and regulate his mind, felt different. They faltered, leaving behind intervals of silence that were almost unbearable. In those silences, something began to surface. A memory, a sensation, a thought. The image of the woman returned. This time her smile was clearer, her presence more vivid. A voice accompanied the vision, soft yet distinct. Kai. Startled, Kai sat up abruptly. His mask emitted a sharp corrective pulse, trying to suppress the voice and the emotions it carried. But the emotions surged, defying suppression. For the first time, Kai felt something unfiltered, curiosity. The next day, as Kai moved through the factory, he couldn't escape the lingering sensation of the vision. His tasks felt heavier, the monotony more suffocating. And then, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed something, a shadow that didn't belong. Turning, Kai saw it. A figure without a mask. The figure moved swiftly through the factory, their face exposed, a face filled with emotion, determination, and a flicker of fear. The sight was surreal, unthinkable in Aether. Masks were not optional. They were life. Yet here was someone defying that truth. Their eyes met briefly, and in that instant, Kai felt his mask struggle to suppress a storm of emotions. The figure didn't linger. In the blink of an eye, they vanished into the shadows, leaving behind only a small metallic plaque. Kai picked up the plaque cautiously. 3 words were etched onto its surface. Remember your emotions. Kai stared at the words, his mind racing. My emotions? These words unlocked something within him, a door he had long forgotten existed. And once ajar, there was no turning back. That evening, as Kai sat alone in his dimly lit room, the unexpected happened. His mask emitted a strange pulse, and a holographic figure materialized on the wall. The figure was cloaked, their face half obscured, yet their voice was calm and commanding. Kai, the figure said. We've been watching you. Kai's breath caught. Who are you? The figure smiled faintly, a gesture that carried both understanding and authority. I am Dr. Seraph. If you want to uncover the truth behind the masks, follow the signal I've embedded in your system." And then the hologram vanished. Kai hesitated for a long moment, his thoughts racing, finally defying the commands of his mask. He followed the coordinates displayed on its interface. The path led him deep into Aether's underbelly, a labyrinth of forgotten tunnels and rusted machinery that whispered of a world before the masks. When Kai met Seraph in person, he was struck by the man's unmasked face. Lines of age etched his skin, his expression alive with unfiltered emotion. It was a face unlike anything Kai had ever seen. "Do you know, Kai," Seraph began, "the NeuroMasks were created not to protect humanity, but to control it. They suppress emotion, strip away individuality, and convert our suppressed feelings into energy to power the city. Aether thrives on the very humanity it denies." Kai's thoughts reeled. "But emotions can be dangerous," he stammered. "Perhaps the masks are necessary?" Seraph shook his head. "Necessary for whom?" "To feel is to be human, Kai. Without emotions, we're nothing more than machines. And the ones who built the masks? They didn't protect us, they enslaved us." Seraph's words planted a seed of rebellion in Kai. For the first time, he saw the masks not as a shield, but as a chain. Kai joined a small resistance group known as the Silent Rebellion. This group consisted of people who had, like Kai, either removed their masks or resisted its control. They were few in number, scattered across Aether's vast underground, but they shared one goal: to free humanity from the chains of the NeuroMasks. Dr. Seraph, the group's leader, began outlining a plan. "The masks are controlled from the central system housed in the Aether Tower," he explained, pointing to a holographic blueprint of the city. "If we can infiltrate the tower and upload a virus into the system, we can disable the masks across the entire city." Kai's mind swirled with conflicting thoughts. The plan was bold, daring, and dangerous. The masks had suppressed emotions for decades. Suddenly unleashing those feelings could lead to chaos. Yet, as Seraph spoke, Kai felt a fire ignite within him, a desire to see a world where people could live freely, without suppression. "But what happens when the masks are gone?" Kai asked hesitantly. "Won't people be overwhelmed? They've forgotten how to feel." Seraph met his gaze with a steady expression. "Freedom is never without pain, Kai, but it's a pain worth enduring. People must learn to live with their emotions, no matter how difficult." The Silent Rebellion spent days preparing. Kai trained with others in the group, learning how to navigate the city's security systems and bypass the tower's defenses. Among his companions were Nora, a woman who had lost her family after refusing to comply with the mass system. Despite her pain, she radiated a quiet strength. Elias, a former security officer who had once enforced the mask regime but now fought against it. His guilt fueled his determination to make amends. Kai listened to their stories, each one filled with tragedy, resilience, and hope. These were people who had suffered greatly under the mask system, yet they had found the courage to fight back. Their courage inspired him, even as doubt lingered in his heart. The night of the mission arrived. The group moved through the underground tunnels, their path lit only by faint, flickering lights. Kai could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The plan was simple: infiltrate the Aether Tower, reach the control room, and upload the virus. But the risks were enormous. Failure would mean certain death or worse, reprogramming. As they emerged from the tunnels into the base of the tower, they encountered their first challenge: a series of laser security grids designed to detect emotional fluctuations. Kai's heart raced as he navigated the grids, his unmasked face marking him as an immediate threat. But with Seraph's guidance, the group managed to reach the control room undetected. Inside the control room was a cold, sterile space filled with screens and consoles. At the center was the main terminal, the heart of the mask system. But as they approached, a figure stepped out from the shadows. "Dr. Seraph," the figure said, his voice calm but firm. "You shouldn't have come." The man was Arden, a former protege of Seraph who had chosen to remain loyal to the mask system. His face was stern, his posture unyielding. "Destroying the masks will undo everything we've built," Arden continued. "You'll plunge the city into chaos." Seraph stepped forward. "What we've built is a lie," he said. The masks don't protect us, they enslave us. You know that, Arden. Arden's expression hardened. The masks bring order. Without them, people will be consumed by their emotions. You're condemning them to suffering. Kai listened to their exchange, his mind racing. Arden's words echoed his own doubts, but Seraph's conviction resonated deeply. Finally, Kai spoke. Maybe chaos is the price of freedom, he said. But isn't it better to face the truth than live in a lie? Arden hesitated for a moment, his resolve wavering. But then he reached for a weapon, and chaos erupted in the control room. Seraph and the others fought to subdue Arden while Kai made his way to the main terminal. His hands trembled as he began uploading the virus. As the virus activated, the tower's systems began to fail. Warning lights flashed, alarms blared, and the screens displayed lines of corrupted code. Outside, the effects were immediate. Across the city, NeuroMasks began to malfunction. One by one, they powered down, falling from people's faces like discarded shells. For the first time in decades, the people of Aether were unmasked. At first, there was silence, a silence so profound it seemed to stretch endlessly. And then the floodgates opened. People began to cry, laugh, scream. Decades of suppressed emotions poured out in a torrent, overwhelming and raw. Kai watched from the tower's window, his breath caught in his throat. On the streets below, he saw a woman fall to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Beside her, a man laughed uncontrollably, his voice echoing through the once silent streets. Others simply stood in stunned silence, their hands trembling as they touched their own faces for the first time. "It's beautiful," Nora whispered beside him, "and terrifying." Kai nodded, his own eyes wet with tears. "They're free," he said softly, "but this is just the beginning." In the days that followed, Aether transformed. The streets, once silent and orderly, became vibrant and chaotic. People struggled to navigate their newfound emotions, grappling with feelings they had long forgotten. There were arguments, reconciliations, and moments of profound connection. For the first time, Aether felt alive. Kai walked among the people, helping where he could. Some thanked him, their gratitude shining through tears. Others cursed him, their fear and anger directed at the man who had undone their world. Kai bore it all with quiet resolve. He knew the road to freedom would not be easy. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Kai stood on the outskirts of Aether, looking back at the place he had helped change. In his hand was a small journal, its pages filled with his thoughts. He opened it to the final entry and began to write. To feel is to be human, and to be human is to carry the weight of our emotions, the joy, the sorrow, the love, the pain. Freedom is not the absence of struggle, it is the courage to embrace it. We've taken the first step, but the journey is theirs to continue. Closing the journal, Kai turned and walked away, leaving Aether behind. The city, no longer silent, was alive with the sounds of humanity rediscovering itself.